Hi everyone, so this is going to be a quick video to show you the Photoshop tips and tricks that I showed in class. So I'm going to go ahead and start by creating a new document. So do that over here. And then there's some presets, as you can see, photo, print, etc. But for our purposes, I'm going to do 8 inches by 8 inches. You can also choose 7 by 10 if you prefer. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And it creates an artboard and kind of a working space, as I'm sure you already know. So like I mentioned in class, the thing with Photoshop is that the areas you need to notice are the layers over here. So if I do anything on here, okay, actually when you draw it doesn't create a layer, but in general you want to have a layer for everything you do. So when you paste something, it creates a layer, but yeah, certain things don't create a layer, but in general everything we're going to be doing today will automatically be on a layer. But if you want to create a layer for whatever reason, like if you want to draw and be able to have multiple layers going, you can go down here in the little plus sign at the bottom and you create a new layer through that. And so what's nice about it is, like, okay, if I'm making this drawing, then I can make a new layer, add some other thing to my beautiful drawing, but then I can just turn them on and off, and they're not, connected to one another forever. You can kind of go in different phases by doing that. Okay, so for our current class situation, we were going to take some images that you took in the wild and then use that to create compositions with. So I downloaded some images. Let me just go ahead and find them from that you found online, and I tried to find a variety of difficult to easier ones. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm just dragging them all in here, and then when you drag them, when you hit enter, they all load. But I have to hit enter multiple times. So as you can see, they all loaded as separate layers. So if you wanted to be more clear about it, you can kind of give them names, but I would do that once you've decided what letters you want, because that way you can have, like, my E is this, or whatever you end up doing. So again, with layers, what's nice is you can turn them on and off. So the little I tells you if it's on or off. If I press and hold, I can do all of them at once. And again, you won't need this for right now, but you can also manipulate the opacity over here. So I can, now I'm kind of blending those two images. I can also change, like, how they're transparent with one another. So you can overlay them, create light, soft light, etc., color burn. Yeah, so for right now, let's say I wanted to take the E from this Entenmann's. So first I'm going to turn it around so I can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to the edge and I'm turning, and if I hold shift, it kind of snaps it at specific angles, and it's easier to find a 90-degree angle that way. You can also, I'm doing clicking on it. So again, as I mentioned in class, you want to have, as you're going through this, you want to have auto select off, because that way you have more control. So when I command click or control click, if you're on a PC, it selects the layer. You can also do that by just clicking here, but that allows me to turn it. You can also edit it by going over here in image rotation, and then change them over here arbitrary, so that it allows you to input how much you want to turn, but that is more difficult than just doing it manually. Okay, so now I've turned my letter. I can also make it bigger, so I'm going to hold shift. So here I want to say, like, up here, this is the width and height of your image. If this is already clicked, that means it's going to kind of bind the length and the width and height together. So if you go up and down, it automatically binds it. If you have this unclicked, you want to hold shift in order to do that. So that's just a note if you were confused by me saying that in class, yours is different. So I'm doing that now. Okay, so now I want to take the E. I think the easiest way to do that is going to be to use first the lasso tool to do like a really rough crop. So I'm just going to go around and I'm going to take off the chunk of the little N that's connected there. I'm going to take that off. So I'm only selecting E, and I'm doing that, you know, basically if I was cutting a piece of paper really quick, I would go about it the same way. Then I'm copy pasting, so Command C and Command V. I think if you all know how to do that on a PC. I assume it's Control C, Control V. Okay, now I have this E. So there's multiple ways I can go about doing this. One is using this magic wand tool here, and I can try and click, so because it's fairly high contrast, there's a white background and a dark letter, it's easy to see. So if I use my magic wand and I click the white kind of background, it's trying to select all the pixels that are this color or similar, and then it will, you can just click delete and remove them. So that's one way to do it. Another thing to know about this is the tolerance is kind of how many pixels, what range are you allowing? So if I put tolerance 1 and then I click it again, there's a lot fewer pixels that are within this range, but I can give more. So now if I give 33, 34, it's like, okay, this, you want this general type of pixel, like this lighter color white, and it's kind of increasing the amount, and I can get to what I want because there's nice high contrast between my letter. So, you know, that's one way to do it. Looks pretty good enough for what we need. So another way to do it, I'm just going to undo. And one thing is, if you want to deselect, you can do Command D or Control D, I think, and that just deselects, just so you know. Then another option is still using the magic wand. I can go select subject. And okay, so you see this didn't work, and it will work on some other ones. It's trying to understand what the subject is, and it thought the whole thing is the subject. So in this case, I would know this doesn't work, but I'll show you it does work on some other ones. So now I'm going to go with this solution using the magic wand tool and delete, and now I have my E. So then I can, you know, go ahead and, unless I want another letter from in here, I can just either turn this layer off, drag it all the way to the bottom, knowing I've already done it, and then try another one. So now let's see, what else do I have? I have some more complicated ones. Let's see. Let's just try this. So if I wanted to try the B, I'm gonna go and roughly crop it. So you see I have to make sure that what I'm seeing and what I'm altering over here in the layer is accurate. So if I were to try and right now click copy, it's actually selecting from the wrong layer. So I need to make sure basically that when I'm doing copy, I'm clicking the correct image that I can see is turned on. So it's like the little eye is open, copy and paste, and now I have this B. So now what do I do? If I do select subject, okay, that actually worked fairly well, but I might need to adjust it a little bit. So with my select subject, I can see that here it's kind of cropping maybe more than I want, and here I don't want this little bit. So it's done a fairly good job. Now what I want to do is, now I still have the magic wand selected. I can use if you're on a PC, on a Mac, it's Option or Shift. If you're on a PC, it's going to be Alt or Shift. So you can see that my little, when I click this minus, so the option, if I hold Option, it's now saying remove this bit, right? You can also, oh no, you can't find those there. So you can try and see if that works. The problem is it might get a little confused depending on how complicated this image is, and this image is fairly complicated. A lot of the colors are the same, and so Photoshop is reading that as oh, you want to remove these pixels, it's going to remove more than what I want, right? So another thing I could have done is just crop it more closely initially, but I just want you to know that how to alter it. So now we have this problem. I can use this polygonal lasso here and basically do the same thing. So if I hold Option, it's minus, and if I hold Shift, it's plus. So if I hold Option, I can go like this, just kind of roughly over it, and I'm saying remove that bit. Now I'm going again over here, and I'm removing using the lasso tool. And now I want to add this part over here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just clicking one at a time. So I'm pressing and then adding. So here, for example, I'm holding Shift, click, click. Okay, if I didn't like where I clicked, I hit delete. It just removes the previous point I did. Click, click, and you kind of keep going with however much patience you have to do this well. Okay, now I realize I need to remove. So right now it's going to select all of this except for this little part. I actually want this little part in there, so I'm going to go and remove that. But then, oops, nope, add that. So I got that confused. So I want that to be a part of it. Now I want to remove this center part. So if I go here, and I'm not doing this that precisely, but you can get the idea. I'm removing the center part of the B. The counter is what it's called. Okay, now I can go copy and paste, turn my other layer on that was there, and I have it. So, it's not beautiful, it's not totally perfect. I might kind of clean it up by just removing a little bit at a time, but it's enough for what I need right now. And then I can, play around with making it really big or really small, as I want. I'll show a couple more. So let's see. So this E's in the way. I'm going to hide it so I can see what I'm doing. Some of these are more complicated. Let's see what happens if I get this B. So I'm selecting the B. And then I'm going to remove parts that I know I don't want in there. Okay. And I can do select subject just to see if that works. Okay, so that worked this time. So when I did with my magic wand selected and I did select subject, it figured out what the focus of the image is, with some issues. So let's copy paste, see what we got. So we got this, and now we just need to remove this part, and let's see if I can do that using altering the tolerance a little bit. No, it's difficult. Okay, I'll just go in here and kind of do it manually. Actually, let's try another thing. I can also in here try quick selection tool. I don't know why it doesn't understand. I don't know why it's reading those as similar pixels, because it looks so different to us, but the machine is reading it its own way. So there's going to be some amount of just kind of going in and fixing it by hand, which is not ideal, I know. Let's try again, magic wand. Oh yeah, one thing you can change with magic wand, oh there we go, I figured it out. So you can, up here you can click contiguous or not. So when it's not contiguous, so when contiguous is clicked, it's saying all the pixels you're deleting have to be connected in order for it to consider. It's considered as like a swash of an area of pixels. But if I remove it and I click that, it's trying to find pixels within the image as a whole. And I can go ahead, actually that's not too bad. It's only deleting what it sees as, it sees some extra fuzz that we don't really see in here. But yeah, if you click contiguous and you go this way, you can delete it. And then I have my B, which is a pretty cool swashy B. Okay, I'm turning this off. Okay, so if I wanted to get the U over here, this is maybe a bit more difficult. So I'm dragging and selecting this area, copy and pasting. Okay, let's see if I can do it. So let's try deleting. So you see it saw all the pixels as the same. It thinks they're all one thing. Select subject, doesn't really work. So in this case, I would actually manually go in and remove parts of the letter. So you can go in different batches, kind of like this, what I'm doing. I'm going around and removing. So those are the main ways you can delete it. You can, remove information from your image in order to outline the letter you want. And just needs a little patience, but I think it's not too bad. You get better at it as you go, and it's good practice. So now I have an E, a U, and this beat to start with. Pretty cool. And I can alter them, make them bigger or smaller. The last thing I'm going to show was the question about how to duplicate things. I talked about that in class. So again, here I'm holding Command click in order to select, or you can select over here. And then let's say I want to duplicate the E. So I want to make sure I have the correct layer selected, which is the E. And then I'm holding Option on my Mac or Alt on a PC. And you can see that it creates this double arrow thing, or yeah, it's an arrow. So you can kind of see where I'm hovering, it's changing. And then I just drag while holding Option or Alt and release. Drag, release, drag, release. So this allows you to duplicate things really fast. And somebody asked, yes, they're all different layers here. You can also drag and release. If you drag any layer on your layers panel, drag and release holding Option, it created a duplicate, but they're all like exactly one on top of one another. So another thing to just know, if you want, you can select all of your layers, all your E's, for example. You can also do that by Command clicking and then holding Shift, and everything you Command click while holding Shift, you're adding to. And then you see how I have these little, this panel that popped up. So this is the Align palette. So if I wanted to, I can force them all to align center, or I'm going to do undo, so that's Command Z. Try different things. So they're align at the bottom, align at the top. So you can kind of see how there's different options for alignment. Distribute this way, distribute. So it's just kind of rearranging it in space mathematically. But I don't know that you need that for right now, but it's good to know that that's an option. The last thing I'll show is if you did want to duplicate to a new layer, you can select everything you had here. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting the layer I want, then holding Shift, then going down, clicking another one. Yeah, I don't know if I'm confusing you, but you can select everything over here, and then right click or control click, duplicate layers, and then it gives you an option over here to the destination that you're duplicating to. So you can either duplicate to this exact document you're on or a new document, and you could name it like motion, and then you have them all here. And this just means the kind of gray and white, that means it's a transparent background. So when you export it, it could be a PNG, so it's transparent. You can also add a layer of color by just kind of creating a new layer and doing a shape. But I would make it white, so it's not kind of clashing with your composition. And the final thing is when you save, you can do File, Save As, and then save it as a JPEG wherever you set in your computer. Another way that I do all the time is a shortcut, which is Shift, Command, Options, S. I'll send you that, so that you hold Shift, Option, and Command, and press on the letter S on your keyboard, and that's Save for Web, and you can tell it how big you want it to be, etc. You can also do File, Save, quick export as PNG, save for web. So there's a lot of different options for exporting. Quick export as PNG just kind of saves it as a PNG. So yeah, for class, you can just do them each as separate JPEGs. So it'd be here, save for web. You can change how big you want it. If you want, you can just leave it as is, and then change the quality. This is good to know in the future when you're exporting for web. Basically, you want to have the images be as good looking as possible, but lower quality as possible, so that it doesn't take so much time to load on a web page. But for right now, you can kind of leave it at top level. Okay, and then save your work. Command S, save it. This is my work stuff, but make sure you save the file as is, and save as you go, because you can always crash and you lose your file, which would not be great. All right, good luck. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.